Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about astrology in the Lewiston, Maine mass shootings. First off, I want to send my prayers and condolences to the close friends and family members of the victims of this terrible, heinous shooting. And this is just getting to the point where it's really preposterous. We're hearing about these things all the time. I thought these mass shootings were subsiding for a little bit now, and I hope this isn't like the onset of a resurgence of them at this time. We had something happen last night. It was according to Wikipedia.org, it started at 6:56 a.m. So I'm sorry, 6:56 p.m. and that's the time I'm using for the chart. So the time is somewhat speculative, and I don't, they may revise it or change it later on. But it took place last night, October 25th, 2023. It started at 6:56 a.m. and that's according to the source Wikipedia.org. And this is just something where it's almost becoming like a trend in the United States. And I don't want to be overly redundant with this. I've stated this before and I'll say it again, is the fact that, I understand why people can be apprehensive regarding coming to the United States, and it really puts a blemish on the country. And, people here, we're supposed to be loving each other and, and not, killing each other. I mean, just because, somebody's, upset and angry, you don't have that right, to go out and shoot people. I have a lot of frustrations in my life. I have all kinds of things going on. I have no significant other. I have very few friends. I'm in my early 50s. I don't have, a lot of things going for me, but I'm not going to take this out on other people, especially commit crime. When you kill people, you're killing. It's like you're destroying the families of these people as well. You affect so many lives. It's just unbelievable how these things just keep how they persist in the United States. But anyway, I'm going to talk about some things in the chart which may have, were maybe connected with the shooting. And the thing about, this is too, this happens, I think one of the shootings was in a bowling alley, I believe, and it just shows you there's no place right now that's a complete safe haven. There's no safety cushion or net no matter where you go. I mean, it's like at a point, are we going to have to be, wearing, is everybody going to have to wear a bulletproof vest or some suit of armor when they go outside, just to have their fun and enjoyment? Now, one thing that stands out now, the chart, first off, based on the time, which is again somewhat speculative, the 6:56 p.m. time for October 25th, 2023, puts the ascendant at 1 degree Gemini. The sun, of course, is in Scorpio. The moon is in chaotic Pisces. You have the ascendant, that's the face of this event, and that's very being an air sign, of course, very unpredictable and mercurial, changeable, flighty energy. And obviously this is an event that may be talked about a lot, but what's interesting on the other side of the coin, there were no planets in air at this time of this event. Now, the ascendant and midheaven are in air signs. The midheaven is in unpredictable Aquarius as well, and that's the house of notoriety, recognition. And this is but it tells me you have no planets in air, and there were no planets in fire. All the planets in this event were either in water or earth signs, so that could show an emphasis of very subjective energy at this time. Now, another thing, I mean, you did have the North Node in Aries, though, and Chiron is in Aries, and naturally so. And the Chiron in Aries by itself could show where you have this proliferation of volatile activity. In this case, it falls in the 12th house of sorrow and the hidden. And you have the thing, though, in this particular case, okay, you have the stellium in Scorpio. is one thing that stands out, because Scorpio is associated with, crime, corruption. It can be, if it's negatively manifested, it could be diabolical and sinister. It's in the sixth house, and it's all the planets are intercepted in this case. I'm using the Placidus house system. Libra falls on the sixth house cusp, and Sagittarius at 1 degree on the seventh house cusp. So when you have, this energy intercepted, it may be harder to be seen. You also have two planets in the 12th house of the hidden, in the North Node, and Chiron is also in the 12th house of the hidden as well. So this is where this energy was very surreptitious and made it harder to say what was actually going to happen. Mars is in that mix, in that sixth house as well, and it's intercepted. And Mars, of course, is associated with volatility and gunfire. And oddly enough, ironically enough, you have it in Scorpio, and that's about power control. And we're talking about control of weapons, gun control, and maybe not being emphasized enough. So it's ironic that you have that energy there in Scorpio. And a stellium, in astrology, is broken down, systematically. What starts out with the first planet concludes with the final one. In this case, you have the sun in the stellium. That's the first planet, which is about, the focus, the drive, and the motivation, followed by Mercury, which is the mind and what you could be thinking about. And then Mars is the action. So you had a lot of the, started out with the focus on committing this crime, on death, of murder, Sun and Scorpio thought, and then concluding with Mars, which is about the volatile, action with gunfire. And the thing that and it's in the sixth house of, the routine. So this is going to have more of an effect, I would say, on others' daily routine in general. And another thing, that stands out in this, particular event chart is that you have Pluto. Of course, that is associated planet of death and murder, crime, corruption, and that is it's at the focal point of a T-square, which involves, you have, I'm considering the North Node in that. Some people may not use the North Node in configurations. There's some people may want to just use planets, but I'm including the North Node in this. The Sun opposing the North Node, and you have Pluto as that focal point of the T-square configuration, which gives Pluto more significance. What it is, the focal point of a T-square in astrology is that point of over-accentuation, over-emphasis, and it's supposed to, what it is, it's to offset that energy of the opposition, in this case from the Sun to the North Node. And again, that point of overcompensation, Pluto being the planet being connected with murder and death. Capricorn, of course, is about planning and premeditation. Again, this is one that was likely very murder was very calculated. And the thing about this is, well, Pluto is also it's a singleton planet because it's the only planet in a cardinal sign. So that gives it more significance and emphasis. It makes it more prominent, pronounced, and stand out more in this event chart. So the thing about this is, as of right now, I believe the shooter is still, on the run. He's proven to be very elusive. You have in this event chart, though, the ruler of the eighth house of crime, of death, of murder, which is Jupiter, falls in the 12th house of incarceration. So that's an indicator to me he will be caught eventually. We know, pretty much know that, most people do get caught, fugitives, but astrology is just basically, in this case, conferring, something that we already believe will happen. It may be a little bit more difficult for him to be apprehended because the ruler Jupiter is intercepted in that 12th house, and it might make the experience that trying to actually get him and apprehend him, it may make it a little bit harder and more taxing, and cause a little more exasperation. Also, too, Leo, interestingly, falls on the fourth house cusp, and the fourth house rules our emotional security and safety. And you have, Leo, being very dominant, and it just, this is where the emotional security of people, unfortunately, was dominated at this time, and by, unfortunately, somebody whose reckless actions now are going to cause more fear and trepidation in for the people in that area. Now I don't know why. I haven't looked into this that thoroughly as to why this person may have done this, if this is a hate crime against certain people or what have you. But those events, I'm sorry, those details of course are going to emerge gradually, I'm sure, through the news reports online, and watching it on television or what have you. Now, another thing about this that stands out too is that you have the moon in Pisces conjunct Neptune, which moon in Pisces by itself can give very chaotic emotions, but then the Neptune connected with it can make that even more so. And Neptune also rules hidden adversaries. So it's interesting that you have, Neptune in Pisces by itself can show, even though it's generational, indicate hidden adversaries that could be very, nebulous or unclear, and also, ones that are even harder to see, I would say, and also too. Moon in Pisces, the energies where people are feeling inferior. So, this is where something may have happened where, a person, is doing this to gain some notoriety and recognition, to gain, something where he, giving this person some really warped, sense of importance at this time. I would say that could be something too, how this may have manifested. And going back to Pluto, Pluto is also the highest, what appears to be the highest elevated planet in the chart. Again, that even gives it more energy, gives it more significance, and makes it more pronounced. And people may have asked me once, what is the importance of delineating this, like after this happens and everything, and analyzing what is behind this, and what were indicators that this could happen. Well, as far as the answer I would give is that because it's connected with be connected with predictive astrology, because it could give you some insight or inclination as to when certain events like this could actually take place. I notice in a lot of cases, naturally, Pluto is somehow prominent, in the chart when these things happen. Whether it's the most elevated planet, or it's a singleton, or it's involved in the sun. In this case, it's a T square. It emits. I'm sorry, all those things it meets that criteria in this particular case, basically criteria, so to speak. Because what I'm saying is that Pluto has a lot of significance in this one, and it does, and it is not only the highest elevated planet, it's a focal point in a T-square configuration, and it's also a singleton as well. And so, those are things to look at. And sometimes you'll have Pluto by the ascendant as another example. These are things to look at when you're looking at an event like this that is very destructive. In my understanding, it seems like most reports have 22 people confirmed dead, and there's like between 50 and 60 injured. Now, how long was he actually shooting to do this? I know those weapons fire very rapidly, but still, to injure that many people, and 22 people at this point dead, at least according to most reports. And this will be, naturally, you got to check on news periodically and see the amount, as far as the amount of people that have actually been confirmed dead. But no matter how you look at it, this was something. These are, it just reminds us, in the United States, how vulnerable people are. And even, I'll go to, sometimes I'll be going to this place where, in my area where I'm at, where it's very peaceful and tranquil, But even at that, place, I don't always know if it's going to be safe. And we're always, unfortunately, events like this are going to make a lot of us look over our shoulder, um, from time to time. But at the same time, we can't be, dominated by fear. And the thing is, it makes me think about, there was an episode I saw many years ago, and some of you may remember the show Growing Pains, which had Alan Thicke on it, and Kirk Cameron was on the show. And it was a episode in which the Seavers, the family, was burglarized. The house was robbed, and at the end of the episode, Alan Thicke, who played the father on the show, he went over to the doorknob, and he went over and locked the door quickly. And then he hurried up and unlocked it, and that was symbolic. Basically, I think the message being conveyed in that is that he wasn't going to be dominated by fear due to one bad experience. But the problem with this is we've had much more than just one negative experience, and this is more of a persistent and ongoing thing, unfortunately. And it's just, something does, I don't know what is actually ever going to be done about this. Is this ever going to end? We're going to have Pluto, entering Aquarius next year again. It may go back. I'm not 100% sure on this. It may go back into Capricorn one final time, but I think that would be it. And so it's going to, once it enters Aquarius next year, it will be in there for most of the time for the next, whatever, 20 something years, whatever it is. And some people believe that could signify the destruction of humanity, and I hope that's wrong. It's possible, and I hate to be morbid or morose, but I really wonder about that. But anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.